Frank had always been bold, but losing his parents cemented it. Their untimely deaths left him alone in a world that offered no sympathy. Orphaned at 13, he stood at their graves, fists clenched, not because of grief alone, but because of the weight of survival that now bore down on him. The town whispered that his parents had died under mysterious circumstances, and Frank knew deep down that his uncle, Silas, was somehow involved. Silas had always been looming in the background, a shadowy figure with a reputation for cold-heartedness and greed. Frank's parents had always warned him never to trust Silas. Yet, when they died, Silas had been the first to claim guardianship over Frank, not out of concern, but because he saw Frank as a tool, something to control, or worse, a loose end to tie up. Frank had heard enough of the late-night whispers between Silas and his shady associates to know that whatever his uncle was involved in wasn't just dangerous, it was deadly. Living under Silas's roof was like living with a snake. Every moment was a gamble, every word measured, every glance calculated. Frank had to act smartly or risk the same fate as his parents. Silas didn't just want to own the family estate, he wanted to erase Frank from existence. Frank's parents had hidden something valuable, something that could ruin Silas, and Frank knew that unless he found it, he wouldn't survive long. But surviving wasn't enough. Frank wanted freedom from fear, from Silas, from the ghosts of his past. He began searching for clues, piecing together fragments of his parents' last days. He found letters hidden in the floorboards of his old room, cryptic notes about a key and a map. His parents had been protecting something, and whatever it was, Silas would kill to get it. Frank knew he had to be careful. Silas was always watching, always suspecting. The more Frank pretended to be the obedient nephew, the more he gathered information. Late at night, when the house was quiet, Frank would slip out to meet with old friends of his father, men who knew the truth about Silas's dealings but were too afraid to act. One stormy night, Frank uncovered the final piece of the puzzle, a hidden safe in the attic. Inside, there were documents that exposed Silas's criminal empire, along with a ledger detailing payments for his parents' deaths. The evidence was damning, and Frank knew that with it, he could finally destroy Silas. But Silas wasn't a fool. The moment Frank opened the safe, an alarm triggered. Silas, always paranoid, had installed traps throughout the house. Frank heard footsteps racing up the stairs. His time was up. He grabbed the documents and bolted, slipping through a narrow window just as Silas's men burst into the attic. The rain pounded against him as he fled into the night, heart racing and adrenaline surging. He had to get to the authorities and expose Silas before he was caught. As Frank darted through the darkened streets, he realized that this was more than just a fight for survival, it was a fight for justice. His parents hadn't died in vain, and now he had the power to bring down the men responsible. But he had to be smarter, faster, and more cunning than Silas if he wanted to live. By dawn, Frank had made it to the police station. With trembling hands, he handed over the evidence. The officers listened intently, and by the time the sun fully rose, Silas was in handcuffs, his empire crumbling around him. Frank stood tall as he watched his uncle being led away. The weight of suffering that had clung to him since his parents' deaths slowly began to lift. He had cleared the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable, and though the scars of his past would never fully fade, he was free. Free to live, free to remember, and free to forge a future his parents would be proud of. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Feel free to drop a comment below with your thoughts or any ideas for future stories you'd like to see. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep chasing your own adventures. See you in the next video.